Welcome family, friends, fellow WTA students, administrators, special guests, and most importantly, welcome Westfield Technical Academy's Aviation Class of 2021. Before I make any more introductions or stand in front of you this morning, I'd like to bring Nicholas Moran up here for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and for the national anthem, could I get Shiley Cadona up here?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We are off to a great start for sure. Thank you. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Shiley, for that. That was great. My name is Galen Wilson, and I am the Aviation Department Chair and an aviation instructor here at Westfield Technical Academy's Aviation Program. Joining me today are instructors Scott Hepburn. He's the primary instructor for this class, and he's gonna speak later on his class. In addition, we got Mr. Christopher Shaves, also an FA certified instructor in the program. Wow. What a year. Like you, never in my wildest dreams did I think that the pandemic would still dictate how we conduct class. Last year, class of 2020 was challenging. This year was as challenging. However, the persistence and determination of the class that's sitting in front of you today, they did it. While their fellow seniors walked across the stage and was done June 3rd of this year, these students weren't done. They continued on. They persevered. And that's to mean they stayed here 6 or 7 hours a day, 5 days a week for over 6 additional weeks, longer than than their fellow students that walked across the stage on June 3rd. That to me is remarkable. That to me shows a dedication. That shows to me loyalty and commitment. Yes, I'm prior service, and I do speak of Air Force core values from time to time, but I think it's important. I think they're important. So on June 6th, this class reconvened. And I would like to personally thank our superintendent, Mr. Zaporowski, our principal, Mr. Langone, which will be up here in just a minute, for trusting us to take these students and bring them to the finish line. Your trust means a lot to us instructors, to us teachers. So I do thank you. To the class of 2021, you endured a lot. This would be a great place to work if it wasn't for those airplanes. So to the class of 2021, you endured a lot. And a little side note, when we graduated our first aviation class in 2019, I thought, wow, that was a lot of work. And then again with the class of 2020, I said to myself, wow, that was a lot of work. Well, class of 2021, wow, you were a lot of work. But through tests, and there was a lot of them, and just so everybody's on board, we test these students at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And these tests, they need to hold water, so they cannot fail. They cannot falter. So every night they would study. Right? Every night you study? Yeah? Okay. And they would continue on with doing evaluations and their projects and their exercises and lectures and listening to Mr. Hepburn talk for hours on end. Of course, there was the occasional presentation that I would give along with Mr. Shaves, and then there was distant learning and Zooming. So put all this together, and it was a heck of a challenge. It was a heck of a challenge for these students, and again, for staying an additional 6.5 weeks. And so that we all understand that, yes, they are high school graduates, and they have the diplomas in their hands, but what they have achieved here is something greater. They have the FAA recognition. They can go off and they can test. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. They can test today. They can test today and have their FAA certification under their belt. And I strongly recommend that you do that. Do not wait. I recommend that you test as soon as possible, and I know that you've been preparing for that. We are the only FAA certified high school in New England. We were identified as the best aviation teaching school in the Northeast by the FAA. What you guys have done here over the past couple of years, there's nothing short of greatness. On a normal schedule, finishing this program is no easy feat. It takes a special student to complete such an intense course. In front of you today is an extraordinary group of students, and I'd like to give them all a round of applause. At this time, I would like to introduce and invite to the podium Westfield Technical Academy's principal, Mr. Joe Langone.
very tough act to follow. The chief and the airplanes. Senator Vilas, Mayor Humison, Councilor Morganelli, representatives of the Federal Aviation Authority, representatives of the United States military, Lieutenant General Rice, Central Office administrators, parents, guardians, family, friends. It is my very distinct honor and pleasure to welcome you to these commencement exercises for our aviation maintenance technology program. Again, the chief is a very tough act to follow. But to piggyback on some of the things that he mentioned, just again so that you all have a context for this reality, of our 12 CTE programs at WTA, aviation is arguably the most rigorous, the most difficult for a lot of reasons, not the least of which because, as our cadets can attest very easily, every moment of their life as students is governed by a clock, right? And the reason that we find ourselves in the situation that we did relative to having to return to school after high school graduation is so that we could satisfy the requirements of the federal government related to the clock. Unlike you or I, who the minute we had our diplomas in our hand would have said, woohoo, we're out of here, not one of these cadets issued a complaint. They knew what the reality was after June 3rd. They rose to the occasion. They did what they needed to do. And as a result, they're here before us today. All of them. Nobody got left behind. And we're proud and we're pleased to acknowledge that. Cadets, I'm going to keep it brief, but there's one thing in particular that I want to highlight to you and by virtue of that fact to everybody else that's gathered here. The proper word for what we call graduation is commencement. And the root of that word is the Latin word for beginning. Now that's a little strange to think about, right? Normally we think of commencement, graduation, as the end of one piece of our life. But that's really kind of a backwards way to go at it. The important thing to remember is that today, especially today, related to your shop, this is a beginning. And I want to go back, maybe you remember, I hope you remember, to the comments that I made during your regular graduation on June 3rd, when I spoke about going into the world and resisting the urge to return to normal in the wake of COVID, but to make an effort to return to better. Well, for you, you're beginning today by entering the world with an extremely high level of skill. Again, arguably higher and at a different level than the students in all of our other programs and all of the other high schools in the Commonwealth because of what you've had to live through and how you've had to live it. And that's certainly worth celebrating. But what's more worthy of our celebration today are the gifts that you brought to accomplishing those skills, right? Fortitude, courage, strength, determination, goodness, which I always reference, because more than anything, regardless of your level of skill, regardless of all of those other virtues that I mentioned, you are good. And you are good in a world that is in desperate need of the example of goodness. And as your principal, I sleep a little easier at night knowing that the world is going to be a gooder place because all of you are in it and all of you are making your difference every day. So congratulations. We're proud of you. I know I speak for the chief when I say this in no hollow way. We love you. You're part of the family. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago when we were chatting over in the corner, I want you when you can. I need you when you can. Not just to come for a visit, but to make sure you check into the shop. Make sure that you encourage the next generations of cadets so that they can reach the same level of achievement, the same level of goodness that all of you have. Congratulations.
Thank you, Principal Joseph Langone. Okay, I would like to bring to the podium, on behalf of State Representative Kelly Pease's office, Mr. Ethan Flaherty, to present citations to the student.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and I'm here on behalf of State Representative Kelly Pease. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here because he has a caucus meeting, but he did want to send over a few words. The biggest thing, of course, is just congratulations for making it through this program. It's a massive achievement. I'm sure you've heard it a million times, and you're going to hear it a million more, but it's the culmination of more than a dozen years of schooling, 4 years through this program, and it's incredible that at such a young age, you have the specific skills and the know-how to go on into your field and do great things. And really, you have the ability to go wherever you want and do well. The second thing is just best wishes going forward. Being in Westfield and, of course, continually advocating for our city. But being in Westfield, we have many opportunities for aviation here. I believe somebody mentioned to me that over half of you are already lined up to go across over to Gulfstream. So congratulations to those of you that are doing that. But wherever you go, best of luck. I hope all of you can stay healthy, stay happy, and keep the drive that got you through this program. The last thing is that the Massachusetts House of Representatives would like to extend its congratulations. So when you come up, I have citations from the House of Representatives for each of you for recognizing your accomplishments at the tech. So thank you for having me, and congratulations and best of luck. You want to say that name? Do you have like the written name?
Yep.
Okay. I don't want to mess any up.
All right, so if you could just open up the first one. Zachary Russell. Elizabeth Beshara. Taryn Black. Alex Van Blake. Alanis Camacho. Angelica Chuparan. Nicholas Couchon. Joseph Goodrow. Julian Jake. German Rukinov. Nicholas Moran. Evan Plouffe. And Michael Siegel. Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, the quiet's nice, isn't it? Okay, our next guest, our next speaker, we're truly truly honored to have him here. Lieutenant General Scott Rice is going to be the next speaker. He is the former director of the Air National Guard. General Rice was responsible for formulating, developing, and coordinating all policies, plans, and programs affecting more than 105,000 Guard members and civilians in more than 90 wings in 175 geographically separated units across 213 locations throughout the 50 states. The District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Virgin Islands was all in his area of responsibility. General Rice was commissioned in 1980 through the Reserve Officer Training Course at the Rensselaer Polytech Institute, RPI, which is in Troy, New York, where he graduated and then graduated from undergraduate pilot training at Reese Air Force Base, Texas in 1982. He is a command pilot with more than 4,300 hours in the F-111. He's an A-10 pilot. And before assuming his current position, General Rice served as the Adjutant General and Commander of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce General Rice.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. And thank you very much for inviting me here today. I really appreciate this experience, and to look at you all sitting there is very intimidating for me, and I'll tell you why in a couple of ways. First of all, I am proud to enter the 21st century. I have my iPad that I walked up with. This is actually no more than a folder for my notes, so I may look good, but I'm still a paper product. And also, there's something that happens to me at events like this. I actually grew up as the fifth of six kids. I had five sisters, and I'm telling you, hand-me-downs sucked in my family. And so I started off a life, trying to stay out of the limelight, not be in the limelight, and being very nervous. In fact, I'm very nervous now. I'm very nervous speaking in front of a crowd, and it took me years to figure out how to channel that energy into presenting, myself and a message that I have to say. And one thing I've learned over time is to look in the light in the place of darkness. Look for a light to guide you. And one place I've found, particularly from my 40 years in the military, was this thing we call a Chief Master Sergeant. It's the senior rank of our military as an enlisted force. The chiefs in our force run things. Officers are in charge, and we throw our weight around, and really, it's the chiefs that herd the cats and do all the work. So here I am. I am always lost. When the Pledge of Allegiance comes up, do I stand there at attention? Do I salute? Do I put my hand over my heart? After years and years of having my hand over my heart, I can't stop doing that. I think the regulation says in uniform, you just stand at attention. But it doesn't matter to me, because in that darkness and not trying to figure out what to do, I just look to the chief, Chief Wilson. He's up here with his hand over his heart, and I said, darn it, I'm going to put my hand over my heart, and I'm going to say the Pledge of Allegiance along with the chief. He gives me great guidance. And it's a small world, because you just don't know where you're going to find yourself. And boy, I was really taken aback when I got a phone call to speak to you, because I think this is a great opportunity, and I thank you for letting me be a part of your special day here today. It's Lisa Clark. She's standing back there with her husband, Peter. She's on the advisory board. Both of them are to help advise this great program and get to a better place. And I frankly think they, along with the rest of the advisory board, have done a great job. Well done. Well done. She called me, got me connected back up with Chief Wilson to come out here and speak about a few things today. And And one of my mentors, one of my most inspirational leaders that I've met over my years has been General Mark Welsh. He was my boss down in the Pentagon. He ran the Air Force. And for him, I ran the Air National Guard. And General Mark Welsh has this thing, this saying, this talk that he gives, and he talks about 3 fundamental things that he started off life with. And it was a lot of questions. A lot of questions when I sat in your seat there waiting for a graduation. And they're pretty simple. But he articulates it well when he says, what will I do when I graduate? What will my future be? Will I make a difference? And what will be expected from me, from my leadership, from my friends, from my peers in my career field and where I go? Those are open-ended questions. In fact, I still have them today. But as I started this journey, I thought I knew I was going to be a fighter pilot, but I didn't know. I had no idea where my future was going to take me. And frankly, the world is open. It's endless. It has tremendous amount of depth. My wife and I were at summer camp with the Boy Scouts, and when I was flying A-10s here, and we met this young man that was 18 years old. He was running the Boy Scouts aquatic department. He taught my wife to be a lifeguard there. Nate Zajac. We brought him out one day and introduced him to some of the pilots here. Right now, he is running training for us over here at this base as chief of training and one of our best fighter pilots in the unit. A young guy that thought, wow, I want to become a pilot. I want to go there. Who would have thought that would happen? Do you know, in your midst, you have a number of people. They have no idea. But they're on the road. They're on the path. They're heading in the right direction. Where's Lydia? Where's Brandon? Where are you? Stand up. Are they still here? There she is. There's Lydia. She graduated last year. She's just about to get certified. She's just about to go work for the FAA. Where's Brandon? Is he over there too? He's gone? That guy snuck out of here. He graduated 2 years ago. And he's flying. He's heading in the right direction. He's heading in a direction that he sees as his future. And I give them a lot of credit for their perseverance and taking the next step. Well done, lady. Well done. So while I was walking around here, I met our good councilman. Our good councilman, Nick Morganelli. Do you know, he graduated with a real good friend of mine, Chris Plotniak, from weather school. He was a weatherman. And if any of you have gone to a program that is longer than the normal program, like, I think you have a bunch of peers who graduated in June, yet your program is not done. Just try being a weatherman and seeing how tough that program is and how much they add on to you to be a weatherman. Quite a field, quite a profession. And yet, now, he is the proud owner, a self-owned business that produces a product and sells these health products around the world. And, who would have thought? He probably didn't think when he was sitting there getting his degree that he would end up owning a business here, being on the council, working his tail off for this crazy guy called Don Helmison, the mayor of Westfield. So, anyway, to you, well done. Well done. Mayor Hummus, Senator Vilas, Superintendent Kaporowski, Airport Manager Chris Willenberg. We have a lot of people here who have taken this journey and have gone to places they never thought they'd be in. Who knows what the future will hold for you? There was a time and place back when I just moved into town. Back in the early 90s, just became a part of the Barnes Air National Guard to fly A-10s. And do you know, I thought, wouldn't it be great to have somebody as famous as Senator Velas, a senator in our midst, come to one of our Boy Scout meetings and present certificates, like the good Representative sent our good Ethan Flattery over here to present certificates to you, and present them to some of the Boy Scouts that are becoming Eagle Scouts. And do you know that chief of staff at that time came? The senator sent his chief of staff to our house to pick up my wife to help in some of the presentations. And that chief of staff was this guy called Don Humison. Who would have thought he would now go from being senator to mayor of this wonderful city of Westfield? Thank you, Don. Thank you. Thank you for all you have done for us, for me, for our community. It's truly amazing. Truly amazing. What will be expected of me? I think I have found that delving deep into those ethics that have been built over many, many years of trial, error, and failures that I have had have made a big difference for me. They're part of the Air Force core values, which is integrity, selfless service, and excellence in all you do. And if you think about one of those, specifically excellence, that's when it comes full circle around to like Chief Galen Wilson, the program director. I'm telling you, he started off his journey back in Maine as a young guy that wanted to join the military, join the active duty, went off, spent almost 12 years on active duty, and then came back to join the National Guard, became full-time here. And do you know, out of all the places in the country to tap personnel, our Air Combat Command needs to have the best of the best lead their small team and go around to all these bases we have on active duty and in the Guard, not only in the United States but around the world. They asked Chief Wilson from our unit, from our town, to be a key member of the team to go inspect all of these units and make them better than they are. That's the level of excellence that we have here at Barnes, here in this community, that he brought to our table. And he is an award-winning, recognized Chief Master Sergeant of our United States Air Force with 30 years of service, and then recently service to this program to create the curriculum, started off a few years ago, and have this class graduate. He is nothing less than incredible. You have quite a person in this pole-holding Chief Master Sergeant, Galen Wilson. So what is expected of me when I graduate? Actually, what is expected of you? No idea what the future is. Will you make a difference for all of us? And what is expected of you? I go down to some of those core ethics we have. Credible. Remember, your word is your word. When you're going to be there, you say you're going to do something, do it. Your word is all you have. The contracts, the commitments, the goals, the ambitions, the journey, the pathway, the future. Will you make a difference? Who knows? But your word is your word. You have one chance to make it right. Don't ever lose faith and confidence in yourself and the value of your word. The attention to detail that I talked about with Chief and others. Decisions you make. And know people's story. Learn about your friends, your peers, your bosses, those you work with, work for, and work for you. Know them. Know their story. Our journey, my journey, our journey, particularly the Chief and I, we feel like we have not worked a day since we joined the Air Force. And the reason is because of the stories. The stories we're a part of, the stories we've heard from our friends, the adventures we've been on, the things we've done. Oh, I'm not saying it hasn't been, hard sometimes. And if you even want to throw in that four-letter word work, that might be part of it. But work to me is not work. This is an adventure we've been on. So know people's stories. Because that leadership you present in just by being you and giving you your word is a true gift we're all given. You've already shown leadership for signing up for something bigger than yourself, this program, being a part of this, staying here now, and staying here and being involved in all this business. I like to end with this. I like to end with the first and last paragraph of the Airman's Creed. Because as it says, if you've noticed, on the back of your class, the words your class has given me truly hits home. Look on the back of the program. We are the one. Air travel depends on that. I would even take that further. You are the one upon which I lay my life on the line for, and I fly that aircraft with great confidence because you have people like Chief Galen Wilson on the flight line saying, thumbs up, you're ready to go. I've checked it out. Your life is in my hands, and I'm giving it back to you to say, go for it. Do what this nation needs. So as I look at the Airman's Creed, it says something very special to me, and I'll close with that. The Airman's Creed has 4 paragraphs, and I'll just read the first and the last, and it says this. I am an American airman. I am a warrior. I have answered my nation's call. I am an American airman, a wingman, a leader, a warrior. I will never leave an airman behind. I will never falter. And I will never fail. Class of 21, congratulations. Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General. Yeah, he spoke of many stories. I think you and I actually went TDY one time. Never mind. No. We'll maybe offline, General. No. Okay. The next person that's going to stand in front of you and talk about these wonderful students is Mr. Scott Hepburn. Mr. Hepburn has taken these students and has molded them, has educated them, and has made them FAA ready to test. So without further ado, and I'm going to continue hanging on to the pole. I just envisioned while Mr. Rice, Mr. General Rice was talking, this thing was going to cartwheel across the ramp. So I thought I would stand and hold on to the pole, and I'll do that for you as well, Mr. Hepburn.
Hey, how y'all doing? So I just want to say to General Rice, thank you for looking at the chief when you're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, because as a retired member of the Air National Guard, I was always looking at you to make sure I was doing the right thing. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So first off, anyways, thank you all for being here today. It's a special time for these students and also for myself to see these kids finally move on. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Mr. Wilson back here, Mr. Chase up there, for helping me get these students to the end. Without them, this program wouldn't be the same. And then also, I'd like to thank my wife, Sarah, who gave me the time to study and spend learning and teaching these kids everything they needed to know. There's a lot of long nights and a lot of long mornings to get these kids to where they are today. So I came to Westfield Technical Academy 3 years ago to this group of sophomores here. And the first day, I asked them one question, and I asked them, what they wanted to do after high school. And all of a sudden, I just got a bunch of blurt outs from these students. And I heard their high aspirations of being maintainers, to being fighter pilots, to being mechanical engineers, to being aircraft managers, soldiers, and more. They were here to learn every aspect of aircraft maintenance, and these students didn't take any less. I vowed to them 3 years ago that we were going to complete this course as a class of 13, and today we have a class of 13 that are graduating. This is the biggest class that's graduated from Westfield Technical Academy Aviation, 13, which is awesome. And I want to applaud them all now for sticking to it and making all the sacrifices that comes with the FAA Part 147 school. So I'd like to congratulate them on that. But as they all know now, we're a month after their graduation, and these students still aren't done yet. So 85% of these students are signed up and paid for their FAA testing, which is going to start next week. So these students are going to take 2 written tests, 2 oral tests, and 2 practical tests in the next month and a half to become FAA certified, which is an awesome achievement. We spent the last 2 weeks prepping for this, and they're all ready to go. And they're going to earn that golden egg that comes with all their hard work, being airframe accredited. These students were so eager to learn. I was brought up to leave things better than I had left them before. So how do I do this? Well, a lot of studying myself, night after night, trying to read and figure out how to teach a high school student to retain the information. Giving them everything those books could give, giving them every experience I could from my military career, and bringing in every person I could to make sure they got all different aspects they needed to succeed. I hope today you parents can look at your child and say, Mr. Hepburn and his colleagues did their job. They are better young adults today than when they joined this program 3 years ago. With this class here, one thing that amazed me the most was how well this class got along. None of you parents got any phone calls from me for bad behavior, for nothing, ever. And it's just, the way these kids work together was unbelievable. People say this a lot about groups, but this group was truly 13 best friends. It never mattered who I partnered them with. They always worked together like they have been doing it their whole life. It was always awesome to see the work they could accomplish with each other. If I was going to hire 13 employees in aircraft maintenance, these would be the 13 that I would hire. So let me give you a little insight of these students and why they worked. So first off, you need the moody one. So we have Liz. So Liz, you never know how she was going to come in, and it would always last 5 minutes. Once her classmates got there, she was happy again, but her mood had always changed. So she took on that. So Liz is going to move off after she gets her FAA certification in airframe. She's moving off to do power plant in Concord, Mass, which is an awesome thing. So then you always needed that smile. So Buddy would always come in, and he would always have just a big smile on his face. So Buddy would walk in with a big smile on his face. He'd look at Liz, and it'd put Liz's smile right back on her face. It always worked. So Buddy was always great for that with every student. So Buddy is taken off to Winnick, Western New England College, to become a mechanical engineer. So we got these big names. So then if Buddy's smile didn't work, we had Mike. So Mike was a storyteller. So Mike would come in, and if somebody had a story, Mike always had another story that was just a little bit bigger than that one that would make that moody one smile. So Mike is he's a great storyteller, and that's going to go far with him. So Mike is planning on going into power plant, and I'm not sure if he picked out a school yet or not, but he's also thinking about going into the military as a flight engineer, which is a great job. And with the FAA certification, that gives them one step up from anybody else that wants to become a flight engineer. So I look forward to seeing Mike, hopefully in the military one of these days. So then we have No Notes Joe. So Joe would come to class every day, and I don't think Joe's parents ever bought Joe a notebook. Joe would never, ever take notes. And I'm always looking at Joe saying, why aren't you taking notes? Why aren't you taking notes? His whole sophomore year. And, he would come in and then, taking 1, 2, sometimes 3 tests a day, and Joe's got nothing. No books, no notes, no nothing. It just goes right straight here to his head. And he would take the test. He would be the first one to hand it in with confidence, and he'd always have an 80 or a 90. And I'm like, how is Joe doing this? And then we have Taryn. So Taryn was a test taker, and as she took the tests, she could never draw a circle, right? So Taryn would just come in, and she would draw an arrow next to the answer. And she always had 95% of the time she had the right answer, but she never had the confidence to circle that. So she had to come up to me every test, and then we had to go through every single question, and she had to explain to me why this answer's wrong, this answer's wrong, this answer's wrong, and this one was right. And all I could ever say to Taryn was, just circle your best guess. That's what I said every time. And she always scored high 80s, high 90s. But she needs that confidence to circle that answer. So then we have Angelica. So Angelica is the very detailed one. So Angelica, I learned very quickly that when I'm reading a book or I'm giving a lecture or something like that, and if I say something wrong, Angelica is going to jump all over me telling me I'm wrong every time. So she would go home and she would read the notes and she would read her book and she would highlight everything, and she would come in with a whole book that's highlighted, and it was just unbelievable how much information she would highlight in those books. You go look at them today, they're all pink, yellow, and blue. And she would go take the tests, and she ended up being our top of the class with a 94%, which is awesome. So then we had Alanis. So Alanis was a smart one, and Alanis was kind of I love to talk to Alanis. So every time we went from the school to the hangar, Alanis would kind of sit like right behind me, and me and Alanis would just talk about how the dogs are doing. We talk about how they're painting. We're talking about how the new house is coming. We talk about every little thing in life every day on that bus, on the way out and on the way back. And then COVID hit, and it kind of squashed all that for me and Alanis, which was kind of a bummer, but we brought it back in the end with the bus. So Alanis is heading off to UMass to become an engineer. So congratulations on her. And then we have Alex. So Alex was the one. 3.5 years, I don't think I ever seen Alex upset. He would always come in with a smile on his face every day. He was always ready to go. He was always ready to answer anything I could do. So if I needed somebody to do something, Alex was always my go-to, because I knew every single time that it was going to get done, and I didn't have to check up on it, ever. And that was awesome with Alex. So with Alex, he's going off to Concord to get his power plant license. But I'd just like to say this to you today, Alex. You could be one of the ones sitting in that fighter pilot seat. You are the one that they're looking for. So think long and hard about that, because I know you want to do the maintenance stuff and all that, but you have everything a fighter pilot has, everything. And that's awesome. So then we got Zach. So Zach was the talker. So I could probably let Zach come up here and talk about himself for a little while, and he'd explain what the good things are. But we'll talk a little bit about Zach. So it didn't matter what I was talking about. It didn't matter anything. Zach was always talking. So Zach was always the one I was telling to be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. But he talked all the time. But as I'm doing my lectures, he was still maintaining the information. So he could be talking to Gurman, and then I'm doing a lecture. He's writing, he's talking to Gurman, and then he would come in, 85, 90s on tests all the time. Amazing where these minds go and how they can just soak up this information in all different ways. So then we have, out of the blue, Julian. So I would ask a question in the course, and 12 students would give me this deer in the headlight look, like, what are you talking about? And Julian would just come out of left field and answer any question that nobody else knew. And it's like, where did he get that information? You know, he could answer anything that nobody knew. And it amazed me all the time to see him do that. And to know that little detail that we taught that 12 other students didn't get, but Julian got it. And 90% of the time, Julian had that information. So then we had Evan. So Evan, he was the class president, and Evan is the happy one. So Evan is just always happy. You know, anytime I see Evan, anytime I see Evan's family, anytime I see Evan's sister, Evan always takes the time to bring up his mother, to bring his father, to bring his sister, to say my hi to Mr. Hepburn all the time. He was just always happy. Evan is going off to Hartford to do his power plant, and then he's going to go to college after that. So he's going to have his A&P by the time he graduates. And then last but not least, we have Nick. So Nick is my maintainer. So if I want something done and, you know, Mr. Wilson asks me for somebody, Nick is the one I give Mr. Wilson, hands down. Because I know if I give Mr. Wilson Nick, I know it's going to get done right, and I know I'm not going to get yelled at by Mr. Wilson for giving the wrong person. So Nick spent a lot of time with Mr. Wilson, along with a couple of the other students, but Nick was a really good maintainer, and he was working over here at the hangar also, which helped out a lot. So Nick is going to the 104th Fighter Wing, where myself and Mr. Chaves and Mr. Wilson, you know, came from, and he's going to go be in phase over there. And his aspirations over there are to become a fighter pilot. And Nick has what it takes to become a fighter pilot. He's a good maintainer. He's going to be a good fighter pilot when he gets there. So just stick to it, Nick, and you'll get there. We see it all the time. So this class, I'm really going to miss these 13 students. But over the long run of life, it is going to bring me joy to see where these guys go in life. The knowledge we gave them to springboard off is going to be critical in where they go in the future. So I wish them all the luck in the future of where they go and what they do. And I hope over the next 10 years, I see you guys' faces in aviation quite often. Let me know what you guys are doing. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hepburn. Okay, I would like to bring Alanis up here. Alanis is one of our aviation students, and she has some kind words for her fellow classmates. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alanis Camacho.
Good morning, families, friends, and representatives. Today marks a new chapter of our lives as students of the Aviation class of 2021. It's crazy that 4 years have gone by so fast, and it almost seemed like yesterday, where we had to deal with the treacherous days of safety training and our 1 weeks, where we had to safety wire, and whenever we asked Mr. Wilson to check it, he would just snap it and tell us, try again. Where Mr. Hepburn would like to throw April Fool's jokes, for example, like when he told us it was possible to connect a hydraulic hose, a flexible hose, to a rigid hose. and we definitely tried. And we couldn't figure it out. My point is that we've had so many memories over the past couple of years, and we all created a bond which is unbreakable. Through this program, we have become a family. From day one, I remember Mr. Wilson telling us that we are one team, one fight. Until this day, it still holds true. We all know that our first test was a huge eye-opener. It did not go great, but it motivated us to do better. The first thing we did when we knew that we were going to be a part of the aviation class was try to memorize 14 CFRs. As a freshman, it was very difficult. We realized that this program was no joke after that first test, and we had to completely change our mindset to the amount of studying that we did not expect. Being a part of a program at Westfield Technical Academy has been an honor. For the past 4 years, we have been through it all, tests, tasks, and something that no one was ever prepared for, which was COVID. We've made so many memories, and together we have accomplished so much. This day is to prove that it's worth it all. The day that we officially graduate. For many of us, this will quite possibly be the last time that we cross each other's paths for a while. And for those, I say, good luck. Fellow classmates, I'm glad to have said that we've made it. These paths will lead us to different places. We'll go down paths such as the military, where others will go straight into the workforce, college, or other technical schools to further their education in the aviation field. Now, let me talk about Mr. Hepburn. When we first knew that we were getting a teacher, the beginning of sophomore year, we were thinking, why not just toss him to the juniors? Like, come on. But after seeing how much he taught us with passion and enthusiasm, we grew to love him more and more each day. And as time flew by, we gained knowledge and earned his respect. And he earned our respect, sorry. Mr. Hepburn exceeds expectations and boundaries of what a teacher can do. He goes above and beyond for supporting us and pushing us to be better versions of ourselves and believing we can conquer any task that we put our mind to work through difficult tests, and to look towards our bright future that is waiting for us, to remind us of our main goal each day, which is to go for our airframe license, and to always be one step ahead. Mr. Hepburn is like a father figure to us, as much as he dreads the thought of it. But with how much he cares and how much he wants us to succeed, it's not hard to make that comparison. What separates the aviation class of 2021 from the two classes before us is that we are more motivated than ever. 9 of us to this day have our test schedule, and the rest of us plan to schedule the moment a couple of days after we graduate. And it is our goal to get our airframe license and eventually our power plants. It is our goal to make ourselves, our families, and teachers proud. And finally, I'd like to invite the whole class up to the podium to present an award. This award goes to Mr. Hepburn for his dedication to our class and supporting us for these past 3 years.
Just doing this so I don't cry.
No.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
It's truly amazing what this program has become. Okay, I would like to bring our principal, Joseph Langone, back up, and Mr. Hepburn to present the certificates. And this should be the firing order.
I got one thing to add to my speech. Then we have Gurman, who is level-headed. So Gurman came up to me, I was up here. You forgot about me in your speech. And I truly sorry. But a level-headed kid like this probably doesn't mind that I'm doing a little bit later than everybody else. So Gurman was one of the ones that would be the first one in the class and the last one to leave. Gurman was the one that every time we came to class, he was ready to go with his toolbox. He had his stuff signed out. And then when we were getting ready to leave at the end of the day, Gurman was always the one that were beaten up to get out of here so we could catch the bus at the school so everybody can get home safely. We didn't have to drive the bus fast sometimes. So anyways, Gurman, I apologize for that. I kind of skipped right over it, but there you go.
Zachary Barcelo. Elizabeth Beshara. Taryn Black. Alex Van Blake. Alanis Camacho. Angelica Chapurin. Nicholas Kushan. Joseph Gadro. Julian Jake. German Krikonov. Nicholas Moran. Evan Plouffe. Michael Siegel. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aviation Maintenance Technology class of 2021. So on behalf of Mr. Wilson, Mr. Hepburn, and Mr. Chaves, I want to thank everybody for their presence here with us this morning. And I invite you to remain now at the close of the ceremony for some light refreshments.